Hello and welcome for Real Talk for Our Community with the Impact Movement. It's Monday night and it's 8 o'clock, so it must be Real Talk for Our Community with Impact. I'm Jimmy McGee. I'm the president and the CEO, and I am delighted to say one of a couple of things. One, this is the last one for the month of May. Next week is Memorial Day, so we will not be on next week. Try to get my Facebook Live up and running and get my watch party going. All right. And so tonight, this is what we've done. So we've had a lot of topics and a lot of guests. But the Impact Movement, when it really comes down to it, we're a campus ministry to Black students around the country. And so tonight, we have Black students with us. Black students who are part of the Impact Movement. And so if I can start introducing, I think their names would appear. Nykasia is from Ball State University. She is a rising junior. She's going to join us. And then we have Tolu. That's it. I think there she is, going to wave at me, Nykasia.
Hi, everyone.
All right. And there's Tolu from Rice University. She's in Houston. And last but not least is Javon from Kent State. There you go. How you doing, Chief?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. And so let me just introduce, if you don't mind, the people behind. Show us the Impact mission statement, and let me read that. And then I'm going to give each of these wonderful students the opportunity to talk about what their classification, what they're studying, and where they live. So the mission statement of the Impact Movement is, our mission is to equip Black students to become disciples of Jesus Christ that integrate their faith into every aspect of life. So they're on 3 different campuses with 3 different coaches in 3 different states, which are 3 different expressions of seeing this mission come to life. So having said that, Nykasia, why don't you just give us an update about your school, where you're from, what you're studying, and what's your classification?
Yes, thank you guys for having me. I go to Ball State University. I am a rising junior. My major is psychology with a minor in African American studies. And I one day hope to do research in mental health. So I'm excited.
Oh, all right. There you go. Psychology major. So we're going to give you a lot to work with on this show, I promise you. And when we say rising junior, that means you just left your sophomore year?
Yes, correct.
You're going into your junior year. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, because some people don't understand that rising thing. And then where do you live?
I live in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Oh, okay. That's right. Y'all used to have a football team there one time, I think, right?
The Colts.
That's it. That's your name. Okay. All right. All right. And Tolu, talk to us, Tolu. Tell us your full name and tell us your classification and your school and your major.
Hi, everyone. My name is Toluwani Taiwo. That's my full name. I'm a biochemistry and cell biology major at Rice University, and I'm a rising senior.
Okay. And where do you live?
I'm from Dallas, Texas.
All right. Now, we won't hold that against you because we're Christian people. We're going to pray for you. Okay? So she's a biochemistry major. Does that mean med school is in your future?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I plan to go to med school after I graduate.
Okay. In fact, there was a young lady that graduated from Rice a few years back who's in med school now. Do you know her?
Sorry, say that one more time. I didn't hear you.
Oh, there's a young lady that graduated from Rice who's in med school now 3 years ago. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Gabby, no. Actually, I don't think I know who you're talking about, actually.
All right. Hey, Tolu, they said your background is kind of dark. Can you add more light? That's what that.
Give me 1 second.
Got you. All right, we're going to move over to Kent State. Javon Miller, give us an update, Chief. Talk to us. Tell us who you are, whether you're rising or whatever, and give us a little update of your classification or your major.
Okay. So I am a rising senior at Kent State University, and I am a psychology major and an entrepreneurship minor. And I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
All right. Cleveland, where they used to have a basketball team before LeBron went west. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we got 2 psych majors. And do you want to go study mental health, or you're just going to go? What's your next move?
So I'm going to focus more so on life coaching. I'm a certified life coach now, and then I also want to focus on industrial organizational psychology.
Oh wow. Okay, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
So let's talk a little bit about impact, so people can get an idea of who the impact movement is, and then afterwards, I want to start talking to you about COVID-19 and how the experience has been being sent home mid-semester, how you guys transitioned, and how you're surviving it. But let's talk a little bit about impact. So, Tolu, tell us about impact on your campus. Some high points, or how is it expressed, and what's going on in impact at Rice?
Okay, so impact really started off kind of small when I came onto the leadership board, which was about 2 years ago. And it grew slowly. We had a couple faithful members, and then over time, as we began to study more of the campus and what the needs were of the students there, we began to see a greater engagement of Black students in the Christian ministry. This past year has been phenomenal. One of my favorite parts of this year was we had a gospel worship night where we had different students, some that weren't even involved with Impact. We all gathered together, and it was the first time anything like that had been done on Rice campus, where we were singing gospel music on that large of a scale. And it was just really awesome. We had professors come in, people from outside of Rice come in, and it was just a really great event. That was probably something that that was probably my favorite part of the year. So.
Wow. And tell us a little bit about Rice University. What kind of school is it?
Yeah, so it's a private school in Houston.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how big of a campus is it?
I think it's about 6,000 students. It's pretty small.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And so you don't commute from Dallas when Rice is in session. You're living in Houston, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm living in Houston.
Okay. All right, Javon. Wait. And Tolu, your campus coach. What's the name of your campus coach?
Yvetta Armstrong.
Yvetta Armstrong. Okay. And then you got another guy that's working with you who recently graduated last year.
Yes, sir. Avery Johnson.
Avery Johnson. That's why I want to show him some love today. So Yvetta and Avery, we want to say hello. Javon, tell us about Kent State. Talk about the expression. And you and I met August of last year at an Airbnb because it was your leadership team.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so we had a leadership retreat, and it's basically where the leadership team goes to like a cabin in the middle of nowhere, and it's like 12 of us, and we all just get to develop community and relationships with each other, and we just learn about different aspects of, faith and Christianity, and it's just very helpful. So,
all right, and what happened at Kent State this year that is a highlight for you? It came to mind for you?
A highlight at Kent State. Well, we do a lot of events at Kent State. I'd say I have two highlights. One is where we have this event where it's called Gigs Games, and our gigs are basically like our small group Bible study. And it's basically like each Bible study is competing against each other in different competitions and obstacles at the Kent State Rec Center. So it's just really fun. It was about maybe 80 to 100 people competing, so it was really fun. And then the second event that I thought was very unique that the team put together, you guys ever seen like Fear Factor?
Oh yeah.
So we did an event similar to Fear Factor called Faith Over Fear, and we had like mice and cockroaches and worms and all different types of things, and people were blindfolded and they had to touch it. Did they have enough faith to touch these, things that they could not see? And we walked by faith and not by sight. And then we had them walking through obstacles and eating different things. So it was very creative and unique, and it was just great. So.
All right. So you trying to tell me y'all had real mice? And people had to touch real mice?
Yes.
And that was fun.
Seeing people's reaction was hilarious.
I got it. Seeing people's reaction. Did you see Nykasia's face? She's thinking right now, she's a mental health person. She may come over to Kent State now and do some work on your chapter if y'all do one of those faith and fear things.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about Kent State University.
So Kent State, our campus has about 40,000 people that attended. Our impact movement, we have anywhere from 80 to 100 people that attend. We have weekly meetings, Bible studies. We go to church. We have 6 Bible studies throughout the week, and we do events every week for the most part. So we're very community-based and just building up people through relationship and just teaching them how to read the Bible. You know?
Excellent. And let's give a shout out. Who's your campus coach?
Darnell J. Wilson.
Yeah, I'm sure he's smiling just now.
Yeah.
Everybody in your chapter should be watching this right now. All right, cool. All right, Nykasia, you're last but not least. Tell us about Impact at Ball State. What's it like? What's the highlight of your year?
Yes, I love Impact at Ball State. We've grown so much since my freshman year, and just to see the way that God has worked on our campus is so awesome. So we had a week of events this past year before all this nonsense happened. And we also had a really big event called Trauma to Triumph, where we had Jennifer Pickney and Margaret Weaver come and talk about trauma and overcoming trauma. And that was the highlight of our semester being on campus. I'm so grateful that we were able to do that before all of this happened. And we actually went on a spring break trip to LSU. So we were able to engage in evangelism with the LSU chapter. And God just literally ordained everything to happen at the right time, I believe. So it's been great seeing how God has been working on our campus.
Good, good. Now tell us, for people who have not heard of Ball State, I've been to everyone's city. I have not been to Rice's campus, but I've been to Houston multiple times. Talk to us about Ball State. What's Ball State? Describe it for us.
Yeah, so Ball State is a public PWI university, and we have about 25 to 30,000 students. But even though it is a PWI, I feel like our Black community is growing so much. So that's how I feel at home, is with my Black community, and it's amazing. Like, I love Ball State. They have great opportunities for all students, and we've grown so much as a campus as well.
Okay, and then you said it's grown between your freshman year and your junior year. Can you give us a little bit about the size, what happened in your growth?
Yes, so I know before my freshman year, I would say that the Impact chapter, I don't know. I know they give us testimony all the time. Maybe like 10 to 20 students would come to Impact meetings and everything. But now there's like anywhere between 30 to 50 students that come to every meeting. And actually at the last Impact conference, we won Campus of the Year. And that was just another way that was evidence that God has been working on our campus. And we had one of the biggest groups that we brought to the conference last year. And it's been amazing to see that growth.
Wow, it's an excitement. Now, what I want to tell the audience is that, we're excited about large chapters, but we're also we're excited about depth, because our deepest desire is to see each of the students grow. We like large chapters, but large chapters is not always an indication that God is doing the greatest thing. Just like if a small campus is a small chapter, that's not the indication that God is not doing big things. And so the reality is God is present at every campus. And we really celebrate all of our students. Now, I should take a moment to tell this. I'm going to ask these folks a number of questions. And if you want to ask a question, if you're in our audience, you can't be on our watch parties. You have to go to the Impact Movement Facebook page. And if you type in a question, our technicians behind will post a question and we'll ask this of these students. So, or if you're on YouTube Live, you can do the same thing. So I got a question for you guys. I don't know, when was spring break for you guys?
Our spring break was the first week of March.
Yours was the first week of March, so that was March 2nd through the 6th.
Yeah.
Right. And then what about you, Tolu?
Ours was the following week, so I think that's March 9th to March 15th.
Okay. And what about you, Javon?
I think ours started March 25th, somewhere around there.
And so COVID-19 and the pandemic was announced at the end. You guys were just leaving LSU, and the next week it was a World Health announced COVID-19 and that it was a world pandemic, and then schools began to shut down. So let me start with you, Javon. When did school shut down for you, and what happened?
So school shut down the day after my birthday. My birthday was March 9th. So I'm glad I got to, have a normal birthday, I guess. But the next day we went to class, and, I'm in the middle of class and people are like, chattering in the back and stuff like that. And we're getting emails from the school and stuff. And we get an email that, we got to leave campus due to the pandemic. And people started getting up in the middle of class and walking out already.
Are you serious?
Yes. And it was crazy. And, but I just found it crazy how like one day, school was in session, and then the next day, like, it's just done. Everything just ended so abruptly. So, yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you this. So spring break, did you have spring break?
Our spring break was over the pandemic quarantine.
So all that meant was that you didn't turn your computer on during that week. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what that meant.
All right. And what happened for you, Nykasia? What happened over at Ball State when the pandemic arrived? You were on spring break. What happened for you guys?
Yeah, so we had just got back from LSU, and that first week of back, I was actually in Atlanta for a research conference. And I think it was on a Wednesday. I had drove to Atlanta with my classmates, and they sent us an email saying that all classes will be online for the rest of the semester. And they actually were trying to get us to come back to Muncie. But we're like, no, we just got to Atlanta. Like, we still have our research conference. So we ended up staying in Atlanta for about 4 days, I believe. And then we got back that Sunday, and all the classes were online. And then I want to say that the following Tuesday or Wednesday, they actually canceled and shut down the campus. So it happened, like Javon said, it happened so fast. And we were not expecting it at all.
Oh, wow. And what about you, Tolu? When did it happen for you? Was it during spring? It was during your spring break, wasn't it?
It was actually the week before. So they had, I remember I had taken a nap. I was feeling really overwhelmed. And I was like, I literally said a prayer. I was like, God, I just need some rest. And I woke up, and then I checked my phone, and then I saw the email, and I was like, whoa, that's a 2-week rest, which is really nice. I didn't ever expect it to extend the entire semester. So yeah.
And so did they clear off your campus as well?
Yeah, they did. I believe, so after the 2 weeks, or actually during the 2-week break, they had sent a follow-up email saying that, okay, you have some time to pick up your belongings from the dormitories and, close your rooms and get everything valuable. But after, I think, yeah, it was instantaneous after that, okay, everything's done, like forever. So, or for the rest of the semester, so.
Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit serious. We'll get back to impact in a moment, but for some of our colleagues, your peers, they went back home, and a lot of their families have been struck by the disease. I know in Milwaukee, two of our students have lost 3 family members, and other people have had people in that case. How are your families doing in this? Have you had anybody affected by the disease? Anybody or even in your chapter that is struggling with the coronavirus? And we start with you, Toby.
So as far as I'm aware of, nobody has come into contact with the coronavirus. I do know of a couple members reaching out to me, asking for prayer because they were manifesting some symptoms, but there were no actual diagnosis of COVID-19. My family is doing well, thankfully. My dad is an ER doctor, so he is in that environment consistently, but he's been safe, thanks to God. So yeah.
So does he undress in the garage or whatever?
No, actually, when he goes to work, he has a full, the full gear. But the distance between the location where he works and then our house is very far. So he disinfects. He does the whole 9 yards in the car, in the hospital before he comes towards us. So yeah.
Well, then that's good. And so he's been on the front lines dealing with this?
To a degree, as far as I'm aware of, he doesn't tell me the details of all his patients, but as far as I'm aware of, he hasn't come into contact with so many COVID patients, but they do come to the hospital. He just hasn't personally had to come in contact with them. So
I got you. Okay. What about you, Nykasia? How's your family doing and the chapter? Are people confronting the disease? How's things going there?
Yeah, thankfully, my family, we haven't had any cases or anything, but I do know of friends who their family members have had COVID. And actually my roommate, her aunt actually has COVID right now. And she just told me that her aunt had to be put on a respirator, and she was really fearful. And so just having that, it's kind of like really close to me. She's kind of really close to me. So knowing that she's going through that, it really made me feel heavy for her. And I was really fearful for her. And I was like, girl, like, I'm praying for you. And I'm grateful that she felt comfortable enough to share that with me. But we do have like people who are on our campus. We have lost a professor when it first began. We had a professor who had COVID and he passed away. And there have been other cases from people on our campus as well.
Yeah, and I presume when you went to LSU, did you meet Taylor, who was the president?
Yes,
of the
mm-hmm. And I heard about her father, yeah.
Yeah, and her father passed away from COVID as well, and it's been a rough time. She just graduated from school last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Javon?
So within my family, a lot of people felt like they had symptoms. Like my cousin thought that she had it, but she tested negative for it, which is good. As far as like our chapter and stuff, a lot of people have family members and friends who felt like they had symptoms, but they all tested negative for it. So.
Okay. And am I right that all of you are back home with your families right now?
Yes.
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 Mm-hmm.
So let's get some down, because I got my son. He's a freshman at Morehouse. He's been here. He's not been excited that he's not in his dorm. So let's start with you, Nykasia. What's this like being back home? Are you sharing your space with anybody else? Or, who's in the house? And tell me, what was it like going to college at home with all these people back there? And what's the difference?
Yeah. So I did not want to move back home. Like when they shut campus down, I was in tears. I was like, I don't want to come back home. So finally I had to move everything out. And so I came back home and I was like, how is this going to work? Like we still had classes, we still had like exams and projects. And me, like I love my own space and I love just being in the zone and like not having anyone bother me. So that was an adjustment because I have 2 younger brothers and just they're doing e-learning too. So we're all in the house, quarantined. My parents are working from home. So that was a big adjustment. But actually now I'm quarantined with my grandma. So I came to visit her and that's been a really good experience. It's just been me and her. So I love that.
Good. Now, does that mean grandma's okay though, right?
Yes, she's good.
Or does that mean grandma doing all the cooking or you cooking?
In the beginning, I would help her, but now I've gotten a little laid back and she does more of the cooking now.
All right, cool. So you got your private space. All right, Javon, what's it like for you? Are you back home?
Yes, I'm back home. So I'm here with my mom and her boyfriend. And I mean, things are good, but you know, every now and then she wants me to do a couple of chores, you know. Yeah, so take out the trash and can you move your car? Because we have a single lane driveway. And sometimes I get home late from work and I have to wake up early in the morning just to move my car, you know, to let her out and stuff like that. So, yeah.
But it's fairly quiet because you're the only child. It's just the 3 of you there, correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, then that's cool. All right, Tolu, what about you? How's the experience being back home?
It was an adjustment. I have 2 very young siblings, my brother who's 4 years old and my sister who is 8 years old. So I was very comfortable. I live off campus at Rice, so I was very comfortable with my own space, waking up on my own terms, cooking what I want to cook, eating what I want to eat. And then when I came home, I had to like recalibrate. I was like, oh, I remember now. So it was hard at first, trying to like find also what my place was again, because normally I come in during the summer. So my siblings are not in school. So it was weird kind of like them having work and then also I was in work. So it was just a lot of difference. It was a lot of changes to the environment that I normally associate with rest and like fun. But I've come to appreciate all the quality time I've been able to spend with my family, specifically like my siblings. I think like the unrushed, unhurried time is really valuable. And I know like in the fall semester, I'm gonna look back on this time with nostalgia. So I'm really thankful that I do have siblings to, you know, even play with and to keep me occupied like that.
So let me get this straight. Right now, you guys are going back to school in the fall, is that correct?
Yes.
So Ball State hasn't made a final decision, but I'm hoping we are.
So you want to go back to school, and
I
Tolu?
do.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really discussed in detail with my parents, but the assumption is that I would be going in fall. The assumption is that, yeah.
Okay. And Javon, you look like you don't know. You want to flip
I
a
mean,
coin?
our school really hasn't said anything yet. I just know that schools rely on us being on campus, because they get money from room and board and meal plan and the bookstore and different and parking tickets. They rely on us. So some schools just can't afford to not have us go back. So they're still trying to figure out ways to have us back on campus, but in the means that is safe for everybody to be there.
Well, and the truth of the matter is there are a lot of people who are employed on these campuses.
Yeah.
And for you to come back allows them to have their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in the midst of this, I'm going to shift to impact, and then I'm going to shift somewhere else. I want to remind everybody that you can ask us questions. So if you want to jump on Facebook Live at the Impact Movement Facebook page, you can ask the questions. And these people are smart. They're smarter than me. We got 2 psychology majors and a biochemistry major. They got everything we need, and they know all the answers. So please go over there and write a question. We'll be glad to answer it. So talk to us now. What has impact been like during COVID-19 since you're not around each other? You're not on campus. You're not having small groups, I don't think. Or are you? What's going on? And Tolu, you can start again, and then we'll go to Javon and Nykasia at this time.
Okay, so after the final verdict was released that all students would be off of campus, we as an e-board were kind of looking at each other, wondering, how do we even do ministry? Like, we need people to do ministry. But thankfully, with all the technology that we have, and also the way that we can utilize that technology to still connect with people, we maximize that. So we were still having Bible studies and get-togethers through the rest of the school year, and we were still able to have one-on-ones with as far as discipleship meetings and just catching up with people just to see where they are during this time. But for the most part, it's been limited to just Bible studies and then just the one-on-ones. As of now, we're not doing anything, but that's how it was when we were in school. So.
And so you still keep in touch? Are there prayer meetings, or you have large groups, anything like that?
Yeah, so we have prayer meetings weekly, and those have not stopped. The small group meetings have stopped, but I believe the plan is to potentially resume during the summer. We're still trying to figure out the logistics of how that will look and what exactly our members want for this summer as well. So. Okay.
And what about you, Javon? What's going on with Impact?
Living life on mission kept going, and that was the great thing about it.
Living what?
I said living life on mission kept going.
Really?
And we had our weekly meetings on Zoom and Instagram Live. We did our Bible study still over Zoom and Google Hangouts. But we were still trying to just make sure everybody still felt the community, and we made sure that we were intentional with people, because when people go back home, sometimes they're in a vulnerable state, because we don't know what type of home situations they have. People fall into isolation and they start falling back into, their old simple habits and stuff like that when they go back home. So we were very intentional about making sure that things didn't stop, that way we can keep that sense of normalcy and community going. And even right now, although the semester is done, we're doing different Bible study sessions every Tuesday on different topics about our faith. And Darnell is leading that. And tomorrow, we're doing how to study the Bible. There's a workshop on that. And everything's over Zoom and FaceTime and Google Hangouts and stuff. So
cool. So people are still participating. Nykasia, what's going on over there? Is Octavia still doing her thing, or is she just letting y'all run rampant? Talk to us.
No, Octavia is rocking it. The whole leadership team is rocking it. So we actually started community groups once they shut everything down. And there's, I want to say, in my community group, there's 3 of us, but I'm pretty sure the sizes are small, so it's very intimate, just like our Bible studies were. And we also did a 1 Peter challenge, a Bible challenge. So we would read 1 chapter of 1 Peter a week. And then every Wednesday night, we would go live on Instagram and discuss it with some of the leaders. So that way we've been able to still have community. And then we also had discipleship still. And with my discipleship group, we meet through FaceTime or Zoom.
Okay. So everyone can see that even though we were, I won't say we abandoned campus, we were driven away from campus, we're still trying to keep in touch with each other. Now, what people fail to realize or don't understand, Impact Movement is not a youth group. We're not here to be a rescue for Christians on campus. We actually are trying to help people grow in their faith, but also grow in understanding how their faith is expressed in the real world. And over the past 2 weeks, we had some real life issues that pretty much are germane, Nykasia, to what was that called? The trauma program that we did?
Trauma to Triumph.
Triumph to Triumph. And Jennifer Pinckney, it was her husband was murdered by Dylan Roof, who was the pastor of Emmanuel AME Church. So over these past 2 weeks, even though the deaths did not happen over the past few weeks, the notoriety of these events did. And can you give us a little idea? Have you processed it with your peers or friends, the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery or Breonna Cooper? What are the conversations like for you, and even your personal thoughts? I'll start with you, Nykasia.
Yeah, so that was a lot for me to process, just because I feel like this is a constant thing that we are always going through as a community. And so I would say at first I was very, very angry, and I was annoyed, and I was actually crying and talking to my grandma about this, just because my heart was so heavy, because I don't understand why we're always going through this as a community. And it's like always constant, always the same thing over and over again. So just processing it, it was a lot. It was very draining and overwhelming. But God reminded me of when we had our Trauma to Triumph. We actually went to go see Just Mercy as an Impact chapter. And so I was thinking about that because I saw something on Instagram or Twitter, I can't remember, but they were talking about how Ahmaud Arbery's mother wants the guys who did it to be on the death sentence, or get the death, whatever it's called.
The death penalty.
The death penalty, yep. And so I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, because on one hand, I understand the pain, or I can imagine the pain that she's going through and how it's affected our whole community. But at the same time, I was thinking about Just Mercy and how, who are we to say how a person dies? Only God can say. God is in control ultimately, and justice will be served. We might not see it, or anyone might not see it, but only God is one who's able to give full justice. And so I had to remind myself of that. And even I was discussing it with my discipleship group. I sent that to them, and we were discussing it, and just how God really had to shift our perspective and help us to understand that even though all of this is happening all the time, and we continue to go through this, He's in control at the end of the day, and He's the God of justice.
That's true. And I got corrected. Her name is Breonna Taylor. I don't want to abuse her name. As her memory is still etched in all of our Facebook pages, but also in our minds. Javon, how did you guys process, or did you process Ahmaud Arbery's death and Breonna Taylor's death? Did you discuss it?
So yeah, when I first heard about it, I saw it on like social media, but I didn't get the chance to like actually look into it. And then it was like mainstream on the news, and I was like, it's almost like a sigh, like, we going through this again, because it happens like every year, it seems like. And it's sad, it's unfortunate. It does not seem fair. And it's like, we do want justice to be served, but we also have to remember, who God has called us to be, as people. And this is opportunities to extend forgiveness and grace. But it's still a tragic situation. So,
yeah, it is hard. Very hard. I should mention too with Nykasia, let's see, you came to Impact 18, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it was at Impact 16 that Brian Stevenson came to speak to our conference, and it was very interesting to listen to him up close of how he spent a whole life dealing with this kind of violence and acts, and trying to pursue justice for us all. Tolu, what happened at Rice? Did you guys engage it? Did you guys talk about it? What's your reflection and thought about Breonna Taylor and as well as Ahmaud Arbery?
Yeah, so as a collective, there was no real conversation. I know there were one-on-one conversations, kind of like Javon and Nyke were saying, or Nykasia, sorry, were saying that it was just a big sigh, like this is happening all over again. It's kind of frustrating that things have changed, but it doesn't seem like as we take one step forward, we're moving 2 steps back. And it's really heartbreaking when, I don't know, like when you're in communities where there are also people that refuse to acknowledge the pain that that the Black community is going through with events like this. That's a whole nother conversation, but it's just, for me personally, I think the biggest emotion that I feel is just frustration. I think everybody said that, that we all would like to see justice, but as ambassadors of Christ, we also have to be people of peace too. So we can't be looking to pick fights as well. So the way we respond will indicate a lot about our hearts for God, and even our attitude towards other people and our love for other people, despite the things that are done wrongfully toward us. So.
Absolutely. Well, we do have a question, so let's see. They're going to bring it up, and it's from YouTube. Let's see what we got here. All right, this is from Matthew Odulami. That sounds like it's Nigerian.
Yes,
Tolu.
it's a Nigerian.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a Nigerian name.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what advice would you give to a new freshman? All right, that's a good question, considering you guys are rising juniors and rising seniors. What advice would you give to a freshman that's attending your school? Let's start with you, Javon.
I would say don't be afraid to like explore and try new things. And for those individuals who grew up in the faith and are Christians, I would say get plugged in to a Christian community as soon as possible, because there's a lot of distractions in college that will take you away from your faith. And it's so important to get connected and plugged in to a Christian organization or some type of faith-based movement on your campus as soon as possible. So.
Okay, cool. And if you want to start a Impact chapter, you can contact the Impact Movement. We'll help you with that.
Right.
All right, Tolu, what would you do? What would you say to a rising or incoming freshman?
I would say remember your why. I would say before you go into college, there's one thing I distinctively remember my dad sharing with me. He said, remember the daughter of who you are. And at first that scared me because I didn't really know, what he really meant by that. But I saw in different scenarios in my life how that reminding myself of who I am in Christ, and then also why I came to college in the first place. And even if you don't know exactly what you want to do with your future, I think it's important to realize that people have invested into you and are helping you on this journey. So you don't want to go there and waste your time. So on top of that, I would also say practice focus and discipline as early as possible. I feel like that has been one of the things that has helped me even in my academic journey, because it's not just, we have to incorporate it all, our relationship with Christ, we want to give glory to him even through our academic pursuits. So we want to show excellence too. So I believe that focus and discipline as early as possible, trying to make those as habits. So maybe that's you practice waking up consistently at a certain time, and that's your way to practice discipline. And maybe when it comes to focus, you have a book you want to read. Okay, maybe it's outside of your extracurriculars. Okay, for a month, I'm going to schedule this month to focusing on accomplishing this book. Any way that you can to practice focus and discipline, it will have tremendous outcomes throughout your entire college career and even beyond. So I think if you can nail those into place, then you will set yourself up for a great success.
Excellent. And Nykasia, come on, bring up the end. Tell us, what would you encourage your freshmen to think about?
I would definitely echo everything that Javon and Tolu has said, but I would also add, don't be afraid to be yourself, because you can only be you. And so when you get to college and you have this community, you're going to be the one that stands out. And especially if you're a child of God, he has placed a light inside of you, and you're going to attract people towards you if you're bold in your faith, if you're bold in who God has created you to be. So don't be afraid to try new things. Like Javon said, don't be afraid to get connected to your community, and just know that like Tolu said, like you have a reason that you're there, and God has placed you there for a specific reason. So don't ever lose sight of that. Even when it gets hard, because it will get hard, just remember that you have a whole support system, and get connected to your community, because they're going to be the ones to help you and guide you along that journey.
I mean, that is spot on. You know, I should say this. In Mark Twain had a quote. He said, "There's the two most important days in the life of a person is the day they were born, and then the day they understood why." And in the impact movement, that's what we desire to help for our students. And some people may think that we're just a youth group. We're here. The only reason why we met you guys is because we were on a college campus. And our deepest dreams is to have you graduate one day, and to have you walk across that stage and to have that accomplishment, because our envision for you is not only to be rooted and grow up in your faith and be nurtured by the impact movement, but that we could be a launching pad for this next generation of Robert Smith entrepreneurs that Javon's going to be, or this next fantastic doctor that Tolu's going to be, or this psychotherapist that's going to be dealing with our trauma in Nykasia. This is the stuff we dream of, that not of what impact is not just about what we hope and envision our chapters will look like on the campus, but it's what we hope and envision you will be upon graduation. So I think that's what I would tell her. And we're trying to do work. We got to think on pair of school for a freshman, because we want them to start off great. You know how it is. That GPA, the best time to get your GPA rolling is that first semester, because you can't improve it any better in those latter years as you can that first year. So that's a big part of our work. Well, all right. Matthew is getting it on both platforms. He posted a question on Facebook too. Okay, so we have another question from Matthew. All right. Do you have impact movement in all colleges or in certain colleges? Wow. Is that a question for me or for the students?
I think that's
for me, right? All right. So we have Impact College campus ministries at PWIs. In fact, it was Nykasia who said PWI, primary white institutions. We have them at places called PBIs, primarily Black institutions, like Chicago State University. Georgia State technically could be a PBI, and HBCUs, historical Black colleges and universities. We desire to do work on community colleges, and we're even trying to get on Christian college campuses, because we discovered that Black students at Christian colleges are experiencing the same thing as Black students at primarily white institutions that are not Christian. And so that's where the impact movement is. Oh, okay. Thank you. I just got corrected again, as y'all can see in our chat. All right. Let me give a little bit more. The summer's coming. Well, actually, the summer's here. And we got this thing called internships and jobs and wow, all these variations. What's your summers looking like now? I mean, are you going to have summer jobs, Nykasia? Or are you going to have employment? What's your plan for the summer now?
Yeah, so originally I had planned to do summer missions with Impact to South Africa, but that's obviously not happening. However, I do have an internship that I also had last year, and we're actually working with kids in the inner city of Indianapolis, and it's a memoir writing project that we do every summer. And we're still going to be meeting with the kids in the beginning until July. It will be virtual, so we'll be using YouTube, Google Hangout. But towards the end, we'll be able to finally meet in person with the students and still work with them in their writing skills.
Oh, I love that. For little Black kids to see you, because they can imagine themselves being on Facebook Live with me one day, and you're dead because of your work in them. All right, what are you doing this summer, Tolu?
So my summer plans haven't really changed. My plan was to study for the MCAT. You can study in any environment or almost any environment. So I'm still going to be studying. I start officially in June. So I've been taking May off. I really love reading. So I've just been reading a lot of books and watching movies with my family. So.
Oh, well, there's no new movies. I mean, hasn't come out. There's just old movies, right?
Yeah, I'm just catching up. I'm catching up.
You're catching up. And have you a desire of what med school you're going to attend?
I have interests in different places. Obviously, as a Texas resident, financially it would make sense to stay in Texas, but there's some schools outside of Texas that are interesting to me as well. So we'll just see what God has in store for me. So.
Okay. And Javon, what's your summer looking like?
So originally my summer was supposed to be working on my business, but I shut my business down. And during that time, I was like, oh man, I have to shut my business down. But what's amazing about God and his provision is that he can see the future. He can see what's to come, you know, and I didn't know that this pandemic was going to turn out like this. And I owned a venue which relies on big groups of people. So I would have been hit hard during this pandemic and struggling and in debt with bills and stuff like that. So now I don't have to focus on that during the summer. So now I'm just working at Home Depot, but I'm just visiting family, visiting my girlfriend, and I'm actually thinking about doing, I have this field in my backyard. I actually want to do like Bible studies with my friends outside in this field and invite, you know, different peers that I follow on social media. And Darnell, my coach, he mentioned something to us. He said, this is the time for like COVID conversions. You know, people are at vulnerable points in their life. And this is usually opportunities for them to meet Jesus, you know, and that just stuck with me. And then just having these Bible studies can help people have, you know, a COVID conversion, you know, during this time. So,
I mean, it is an interesting time to introduce people to Jesus. I mean, and I think people really forget, you know, I've been doing this kind of work for almost all my life. The idea of the impact student is just what we have with you guys. You don't have on suits and dresses. The idea is that Jesus lives comfortably in your body as you live this life in this world. And when you walk, Jesus is showing up in these spaces. And we want to introduce this guy who's a savior of the world, who can not only forgive us of our sin, but give us hope and a rootedness and a relationship with God that will not only make sure we go to heaven, but he gives us moments where we see his presence on this earth. Now, I told you guys it's 8:47, so we got about 10 minutes left. And I want to tell you, if there are any more questions, you can go to YouTube or Facebook Live and you can ask us some questions. But I told the students, if they desire, they can ask me a question. Now, since I know they don't have a question, that's okay. But I'm going to be fair and give them an opportunity if they want to ask me a question, since I'm the president of the Impact. And, you know, most times people don't ask me questions. Did you guys have a question?
I do have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Nykasia.
How have you processed being home with your sons and your family since this whole quarantine?
Now, you know, that is an interesting question. It was traumatic in the beginning because my wife and I were on the brink of having an empty nest. My oldest son graduated from Howard University and he was here. My second son graduated from Mizzou and he was working in Chicago. And my youngest son is at Morehouse as a freshman. But then when all this came down, I had all these big dudes rolling up back in my house. So my youngest is 6'5", my middle one is 6'2", and my oldest one is 6'3". And so all of a sudden, you know, it got a little tight and the food bill began to grow. Like, you know, we were going shopping all the time. And so that's been interesting. And the conversations have been good. Just to interact with my sons, to see them, you know, taking them out to drive, grocery shopping. With my second son, we've been watching The Last Dance together for the last, was it 5 weeks or 4 weeks?
5.
5 weeks. And I'm from Chicago. I just want y'all to know that. And all my people, I saw the Monarchs. One guy from my high school is on watching us tonight, but I was not a Bulls fan. I mean, I like watching Michael. I'm an Isaiah Thomas fan. So I had to deal with a lot of this hate towards Isaiah Thomas during this time, but I gotten over it. And it's been an interesting time because, you know, our family was stuck. We were sequestered. We didn't go to restaurants. We didn't go out. We walked the dog. And my wife and I and my sons, we would run occasionally and get some exercise, but it's just been mainly family time. One of the things my wife did say, she said she never dreamed when our kids grew up and they started going away that we'll have them all together in the house again. And I think for my wife, it's been a beautiful thing. And at times it's been beautiful to see our sons. And I got to tell you, when Ahmaud Arbery, when his death became very, very public, I had known about it in early March, but I had not seen the video. My middle son, since he's back here because his job there in shelter in place in Chicago, we went and got him. He would start running at dusk every day. And my sons, when they grew up, the neighborhood shifted from being mostly Black to a gentrified community. So it's mostly white. And so now my sons are of that size where they're a threat or they're seen as adults. And so, you know, I would communicate to my second son, I would prefer him to go when there's more light so that people can see him versus people can have the suspicions that he would be doing something illegal because he was white. So that's the different part of it. And I got to tell you, it's been also hard because my kids and my sons were home, but we haven't seen my parents since February. And so on Mother's Day, we did drive out to give my mom a Mother's Day card. But my siblings, most of my siblings live here. We've sequestered ourselves away from my parents. So my mom and dad, they have each other, but they haven't seen grandkids or their own children at all for months now. So that's kind of hard at this point. So I appreciate you asking me. Good. Any other questions? Oh, good. All right. So now let me ask a couple of questions now. It's 8:52. When you think about the fall, what's going on in you guys' mind? What's going to happen with Impact in the fall? Or what's going to happen at your universities? Tolu, what you thinking?
That's a big question. Considering the fact that not everybody may be coming back to campus, I really, really don't know. That's kind of, to be honest, I really don't know what it will look like. I'm confident that we'll still have our meetings, and you know, even as an e-board, that there will still be leadership meetings. But the large group events that we would normally have, since they're restricted, you know, the amounts of people that can even assemble together, I don't really know what that will look like. But I do know for one thing is that my e-board is very, very adaptable, and I've seen them come up with crazy creative ideas with changing scenarios. So I'm confident that they will be able to, you know, make the most of the situation. So.
And when you say e-board, we got to do a translation. That's the executive board,
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Nykasia, what's your hoping about the fall? But I know you want to get out of grandma's house and not go back home, but what you thinking about the fall for you?
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is I miss my friends and I miss our community. But I am hopeful that when we get back, that even though it probably won't be the same, that we'll still be able to connect with each other. And even if we're not on campus, I'm sure we'll be able to adapt just how we did this time. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to be back together, but I also understand if we're not.
Okay. And Javon, what's going on? I know you and Darnell are planning something.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the plan? What's the goal?
Yeah, so if we're back on campus, obviously gathering in groups and assembly is going to be different, but the mission is still going to continue to go on. If we don't go back to school, unfortunately, just because school is canceled does not mean, you know, living life for Christ and living life on mission, that does not stop. You know, it keeps going. You know, sharing the gospel keeps going. So
exactly. Well, I do have a question. You guys need to help me with my job because I need some help. Because I'm losing my hair and my mind about the fall. If school doesn't start, help me to understand. Oh, we do have a question. Shucks. All right, I'm going to do great with our audience. Here we go. What strategy do you have in the fall to get your campuses taken over by Jesus Christ? Huh. Okay. So that's basically what's your outreach for the fall? And so that's my question for you guys. What's your outreach? And if you're going to do this, suppose we don't go back to campus. What's your outreach going to look like now on the campus? So go ahead. Well, I'm sorry. Javon, go ahead. You can start.
So using the power of social media, and I'm pretty sure Kent is going to try to reach out to their freshmen and stuff like that. So we're definitely going to be in connection with them and working with them to figure out how can we reach out to our freshmen and get them connected with Impact or any other faith-based organization on campus. But using the power of social media, using the power of relationships, and we also have a program where minorities can come before school actually starts, and usually we host like a table or organization table there, so connecting with them to get in contact with their freshmen. So
okay. And Tolu, what about you?
Yeah, actually Rice has similar strategies for outreach. We have like forgot what it's called. I believe it's for Black students, for Black freshman students before they come in to Rice. And typically we send out a representative. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's the incoming president. Sometimes it's different members of Impact that will just talk about the ministry and just at least raise awareness that it exists at Rice, because a lot of people, when they're coming in, they have never heard of such a thing like Impact. And then past the first day of classes, as Javon was saying, I think a huge part is relationship and just showing that you care about the individual and not just attracting them to your organization. So I feel like that's been our most effective strategy, to just walk alongside people in their respective journeys, getting to know them in the environments they're most comfortable, and then inviting them to, to partner with us and just to see what we're all about. But I think that's what we plan to do. It's worked for us in the past, so.
Okay, and Nykasia, bring up the rear. Tell us what's going to happen at Ball State in the fall.
Yes, so every year we have an activity fair at Ball State, and that is how we start off the year. And we usually, I know in the past we partner with Crew to have a cookout, but I know that if we go back, it might look a little bit different. And that's usually how we first get the incoming freshmen to come in, and even some other students who didn't hear about Impact in the past. That's how we connect with them. And we also use relationships that we already have, and we go out and evangelize and just talk about what we are as a movement and as a campus and what our vision is. But if we don't go back in the fall, I'm sure we'll be able to use social media, outreach, however that might look. But I know that we're going to be able to adapt and just reach out to people and still build that Christian community and still evangelize and still share the gospel with people.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's our hope. Back when I was younger, we used to talk about these are the last days, and it feels that way in many ways. The isolation that people are, the lack of food, the loneliness people are having because of sequester. I'm hoping that we will get a chance to be back on campus and be with students again, and have the hope of sharing Jesus and to let them come and have new life during this time. I want to thank each of you guys for, first of all, coming on. And most people don't know that we didn't plan this like 8 weeks ago, but a lot of you guys accommodated me so quickly to come in and spend this evening with me. So I want to say thank you for each of you. And I got to make it a habit. I've been to Ball State. I've been to Kent State. Now I got to get to Rice, so I won't feel embarrassed and say I haven't been to Rice University. So I got to get to campus. And I'm hoping you guys have a fabulous summer. And just to let everyone know in our audience, a couple of things. First of all, we're going to take a break because next Monday is Memorial Day. And even though we're practicing social distancing, I won't be that far from my grill, and my kids won't be that far from getting food from my grill. So we won't have Facebook Live next week. We're going to have a couple of steaks, maybe some lamb chops, or any meat we can find to put on the grill and feed my family. Secondly, on June 1st, we'll come back. And when we come back, it won't be me as a host. I'm going to change the format. I announced it to the students tonight, and have students now join me with our host to interact and ask questions. So for each month, I just picked a random campus, get one student to come on board with me and help host this real talk with our community with all of our future guests. And we got a lot of topics to talk about. There won't be many repeats. We're going to try to see what's happening on the continent and various spaces. So I want you to be aware of that. Another thing I want to tell you that on June 19th, the Impact Movement is also having a graduation ceremony for all of the seniors who have been a part of the Impact Movement across the country. We're putting together a program right now, I don't think we can get Barack Obama, but I will see, since he's from Chicago, if he's willing to come in and say a prayer, or maybe we get Michelle instead, since he was on last Saturday. But we will have an event for you, and we want all of our Impact students, but also the seniors, to know we want to celebrate you as you move to that space. And let me make sure I think I got all, and I've been encouraged to tell you that we're going to try our best to do this for the remaining parts of the year. It's a difficult year, and none of us know how it is. For all of our audiences, we started doing this so we can be in touch with students and our alumni and our donors and our board and our partners. But I want to say this right now, the Impact Movement, we really are grieving the loss that 100,000 people may be dead from the coronavirus by June. That's a sad thing. We're also grieving that there are a lot of people who are dying just from other causes that can't have their families together to mourn their losses. Some people are planning weddings. Some people are having babies. And this coronavirus is disrupting many of our lives. And for that, our empathy, our mourning, our grief, our sympathy goes out to everyone in the audience and to all our students. Again, to Nykasia and Tolu and Javon, I really appreciate you guys being here. It's great seeing you in person. And God willing, we'll see you at an Impact National Conference too. We'll be in person and that crazy like we always do. So I want to say good night and thank you for coming.
Good night. Thank you for having me.
Have a good one. Thank you so much.
All right.